Welcome to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh, the Note Queen, where we talk about owner financing and notes. Financial solutions, one mom and pop to another.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Dawn, for taking my question.
Thank you for showing up to this little coffee chat. So where are you drinking your coffee from? Wow, that sun's good.
I'm currently in Menifee, California.
You're where?
I'm in
California?
Menifee, California. Yep.
Okay.
Southern California.
All right. So then just tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll just try to hit your questions and see what
Well, I've been in real estate for about 13 years as an agent, and I'm no longer an agent, but I've always invested in real estate in some aspect of buy and hold and maybe buy and sell, and buy, rehab, and sell. But I tend to hold. In the past few years, I've been passive with the investments, and I've only been investing in REITs. So now I'm trying to get back into being more active. Recently, I've started up a self-directed IRA, and a slight dilemma because I was investing in REITs with my self-directed IRA, and that REIT is close to more investors, so that they're not taking any more investments. So I have some funds that I'd like to place into something else, preferably a note. That's why I had that question about a small note. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Do you have you done notes before?
No, I have not. I mean, I know a lot about it, but I just haven't done one for myself. Gotcha.
Okay. So so number one, I'm just going to go through the ways of note. So how do I become a note investor? So there's three main ways, and the easiest one for most people that's right in front of them. And sometimes they go, I want to sell this property so I can invest in notes. And I go, well, why don't you carry paper on that property? And then voila, you're a note investor. You're receiving payments on a note, right? So that's an easy one. Finding a hard money lender, but usually they need a little, quite a bit of capital. Depending on what part of the country you're being a private lender in. If you do seconds, just realize that that can be smaller dollar, but second position notes, last time there was a downturn in the market, a lot of them took a pretty stiff beating, especially in the West out here, where the property values tend to go up and down a lot more, have a lot more volatility, but some people, as long as you're okay with the amount of risk, are okay doing small seconds. The third way, and what I've done, I guess 70% of my portfolio, or no portfolio anyway, is buying discounted notes from other people. So, and if you can do that, if you can find that, but it's a business, right? So either you work through a broker, someone who's like me or Abby or somebody, right? You got to find people who have deal flow, because finding deal flow in any business is what it takes 2 to 5 years for most businesses to get going. And the reason is because it takes time to be the rainmaker and find them and be educated. And once you find them, how do you negotiate it? And how do you underwrite it? How do you know if it's a good deal or not? So there's a lot of moving pieces with that. And have you heard of Walter and Quincy and the Financial Friends Network? Have you come across them?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I'm going to see if I can pull this up, because small, what you're talking, small deal IRA investing, Walter Wofford, because he is exactly talking about this stuff. I don't know. Join Jim and Walter, walterwofford.com. Okay, you got to hook up with this guy. They're over. This is a new site. That is super fun. Yes. Okay. So walterwofford.com. So go over there and hook up with him. Actually, I need to put this in my links to resources. Walter stepped it up with his website here. He just sent me a super funny video from Croatia. Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, I'm going to be actually, so from 2012 to 2017, I probably went on almost every cruise, and I've been back to Jackson, Mississippi, where he's from, to take several courses. So he's this financial friends that Quincy and Walter have created are my financial peers, my financial family, investing family, and I've learned a lot from them and had a lot of fun. So I would suggest that you connect there. So yeah,
thank you. Awesome.
yeah. So he I think at least 2 or 3 times a year, right there in Jackson, Mississippi, he holds events that are just called small dollar investments with your IRA, known investments with your IRA. Exactly that. So great. I'm really glad you brought that up. That's going to be a super great connection. And he's a super good guy and funny. He makes me laugh just when he says my name, Dawn. He's got that southern drawl, you know. So all he has to do is say my name, Dawn. Is this Dawn? And then I start laughing. That's maybe because I'm too easily entertained. Who knows? Okay, so anyway, a lot of times too, that can be small notes can also be found, but on like mobile homes. But then you have to go, okay, I just have to realize that if I don't have a lot of money, that the collateral that's securing my investment is not going to be a single family house in, you know, Orange County. You know, the smaller amount of money, and if you're in first position, you're just going to take on a little more risk sometimes if it's a mobile home in a park, or you'll just have to know that, hey, you know, if I only have $25,000 to invest, then, and I want to be in first position, then probably, most likely, the value of the collateral securing that note's going to be about 50,000, right? So a 50,000 house somewhere, depending on where it is either decent or it's not the greatest for whatever reason. So you just have to realize that. So if you're like, no, I want to have a paper in Southern California, well, then you probably have to be willing to accept a 5% yield, 5-6% yield, I think. There's a lot of competition for A paper in hot markets and really stable markets. So anyway, does that help at all? Or do you have any more questions or clarifications?
Yes, that helps a lot. I actually also want to know if somebody could carry a note for me, because I was looking at investing, hopefully getting into a multifamily property somewhere in California or outside of California.
So you mean, will someone lend you money, not carry a note for you? Or
yeah.
you're looking for an owner, you're looking for a seller who will carry for you, right?
No, well, I'm looking for somebody who will actually hold the note, the promissory note. So essentially being the lender, but I don't want to go through the bank.
Right. So my first choice for who can lend me money is the seller of the property that I want to buy. Because generally I can get if I have to go to my private money partners, I'm going to pay 7, 8, 9, 10% depending. Okay. But I have gotten several times. I've gotten anywhere from 3 to 5% money. I pay from 3% to 5% on my money. And I know people that get 0% financing. So whether I'm going to flip the property or carry it long term, I always think of the seller of the property as being my lender. And when that doesn't work, then I go to other solutions, right? But the more cash I need or the more expensive my capital, the lower the price I can pay for the property and still make it work as an investment, because I'm not a retail buyer of notes or properties. Right? Does that make sense? So you go find what you want. And I think the sweet spot, did you say multifamily?
Yes, that's the preference. But then my secondary is I would like to get a home in Ventura that I could go, I would use once a month, you know. So I think that would still be considered investment. Either way, I want something soon.
Okay, so what you're looking for to me, and there may be some other ideas that I'm not thinking of, but you got to go, the multifamily is, I think, in that 5 to 10 units. And last I understood is that, between 5 and 10 units, there's less traditional financing or institutional financing available. Once you get over 10 units, the properties themselves are, there's more financing for larger units, and then 1 to 4s, but that 5 to 10, so you have a much better chance of getting financing, owner carry on those sorts of sizes of multifamily, because of the lack of traditional financing. And usually it's like maybe a more small mom and pop investor who's, they want to carry because they're going to defer capital gains, have income for retirement, and leave a great inheritance to their kids. That's very passive, right? It's hard work to manage a property, especially 5 to 10 units generally, but it's really easy just to collect payments on a note. So, and then for properties, I would look for people who've been on the market a long time, or you're going to want to, and they haven't sold, days on market, or they've been on and off the market because they're not getting their price. Well, you can give them their price if they give you your terms. You're going to, as an investor, you're going to need either below market price or below market terms. I mean, wouldn't you be willing to pay $1 million for a $500,000 property if you could pay $1 a month for the next, 200 years? Because right, I mean, really, you can make it cash flow. It doesn't really matter what you pay for it, right? So just depending. So I would look for people who have pain. They can't sell, they want to sell, they're waiting for their price. And, earlier on, I worked with actually a young attorney that he brought me in as a consultant on a couple of deals. And I watched him. He got 50-year, 3%, 3.5%, 50-year financing on a 4-plex he was buying, a 5-plex, because he gave them their price, but then they gave him terms that allowed him to cash flow a couple grand a month on the property. So he doesn't even care how much you paid for it because he got it to cash flow. He had a small down payment. I think it was like 5% down, and then ridiculously low and long financing. So, or people that, tired landlords are like, I need the income, but I'm sick of this headache. So look for people who are just having to go through an eviction or something like that. So, but sellers don't usually know they will carry until someone asks them to. I mean, all my properties have been that way. The ones that I have, they weren't advertising owner will carry. I just said, hey, I'd like to buy this property. Would you be willing to be my bank? And I've had at least 5 people say yes. And that's about, that's about all the properties I can handle right now in my portfolio because they're a little higher maintenance. But anyway, I hope that helps a little bit, Susan. I really appreciate you coming on the call this morning and asking these great questions that a lot of people wonder about, so I really appreciate you coming on and spending your time for that.
Thanks, Dawn. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
I learned a lot today.
I'm really glad, Susan. Thank you. Good luck with everything.
You've been listening to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh. For more, please visit notequeen.com.
Basically, let's get down to the basics. What is a note? It's a promise to pay, and I owe you. I owe you this money, and I'm going to pay it back over these terms. Now, in real estate, and ideally, if you're making a loan, you have a security instrument. That means if you don't keep your promise, you're going to lose the asset. It's secured by an asset that can be retrieved and sold to get the lender out of their